Hi, I'm David Manti, and welcome to a new episode of the Today in Manufacturing podcast. With me this week are Jeff Reinke and Anna Wells. We're the editors of Manufacturing.net and Industrial Equipment News, and we each have more than 20 years of experience covering the manufacturing industry. Each week, we take the 5 most popular stories on our websites and discuss the implications they have on the industry going forward. Before we get started, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can also give us a lot of help by just giving us a positive review on whatever platform you use. Even a simple thumbs up on YouTube would really help us out a lot. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach any of us at Jeff, David, or Anna at IEN.com with email the podcast in the subject line. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube at IEN Magazine so you can get a notification whenever we go live on Thursday. Jeff, how are you doing this week?
Good, David. Did you make it home okay? Was your weekend all right and smooth after your detailing of your concert going experience? Was everything still okay at home after the wife heard that?
Oh, yeah, everything was fine. Not sure she heard it yet. I definitely preempted that by saying, like, hey, so there might be, like, a social clip that comes out about, like, how I may or may not enjoy being alone at a concert, and it in no way has any impact on our marriage.
That's a very smooth disclaimer.
Yeah,
doesn't raise suspicions at all.
No, and then Eric, like, sent me this super cut of the footage of just, like, the entire story, and I think it was good. I haven't posted it to social yet. I might not. Maybe I just keep that for myself. But,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Glad you're doing well.
Yeah,
okay,
no,
good.
It's just, we're giving it a think. I got a couple of clips in the file folder, and maybe sometimes they get posted, sometimes they don't.
At least you're showing some discretion in some way, shape, or form. That's good.
I know, and that is just
that's
way
uncharacteristic.
Out of character.
Yes.
Unusual.
It's good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks. Good to be back.
Yeah? Did you have a fun time out of the office?
Yes,
Yeah?
I did. I had a very nice long weekend in Northern California and did all the things that you're supposed to do out there.
Yeah. You even did all the things like with getting caught up with the current transportation woes.
Yeah.
Caught it right at the tail end.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to be the best at that, so I went on the worst day.
Yeah, no, like you got the full travel experience during a shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's good to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. It was touch and go there for a minute.
Just wanted to make sure you could get back.
Yeah.
That is a long drive, like as part of that California experience.
Yeah, it's like 30 hours, so it wasn't going to be an option that was viable. So I really had to kind of wait it out at the airport. But
That's fair. We'll meet you in the middle. Pick you up.
You guys do that?
Of course.
David would definitely do that.
Just meet up and
But don't let him trust just his GPS. Make sure he, looks thoroughly at everything before.
I have it clicked off. Avoid ferries. We'd be fine. All right. Well, before we jump into our first story this week, we have a word from our new sponsor, Hexagon. This week's episode is brought to you by Hexagon. Quickly addressing and eliminating known problems in your facility can save you from a damaged reputation, fines, or even an unplanned shutdown. One of the most effective ways to resolve an issue is by identifying its root cause, which is achieved by conducting a root cause analysis. However, it's essential to note that a root cause analysis done incorrectly can waste considerable time and resources. So, download 6 mistakes manufacturers make when trying to fix an issue to find out the 6 common yet critical mistakes you need to avoid. Download the paper right now. You know what I said? New sponsor there? That's definitely, we've had them before.
Yeah.
Definitely did that read before. It was like, welcome to our new sponsor that has been on here before. Still new sponsor, old friend.
There you go.
Working title. All right. Our first story this week. Honda wheels could fall off due to an Italian fence mishap. Honda recently issued a massive recall, more than 400,000 Civics. The root cause? Some random fence in Italy. Honda says that some 18-inch aluminum alloy wheels sold as accessories could detach from the vehicle due to a manufacturing error. And that's bad. The issue is traced to a supplier in Italy and an error at their factory. At the factory, a separation fence was typically used to separate finished products from unfinished products. When the company recently installed some new equipment, someone moved the fence. As a result, unfinished products that haven't gone through seat press fitting and final inspection processes, well, those are on the market. Honda hasn't received any warranty claims or reports of injuries, and the factory with the fence problem actually shut down its manufacturing operations in 2023. Still, the automaker wants consumers to bring impacted vehicles to dealers for inspection and repairs. Honda estimates that fewer than 0.1% of these Civics have a defect that may cause the wheels to detach. Jeff, if you have a 2016 to 2021 Civic, I mean, it still might be worth pulling into the dealership just for peace of mind.
I mean, if you have these wheels, 100%, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a super critical thing. I mean, we're talking about basically the lug nuts, making sure they're sitting correctly on the wheel. It would take if they're put on with a torque wrench, like, you shouldn't have too many issues, but no, not a bad idea. Okay, I'm not saying risk it. Be unsafe just because it should be fine.
Jeff says risk it.
Route.
Make sure the wheels don't fall off. I don't know. That's not.
I think that's dramatic.
I mean, well, okay.
I guess it depends on how you're using your Civic.
Okay.
I mean, if you're street racing, okay, maybe.
I think that's it. Like, it seems like this type of aftermarket product is for people that are, souping up their cars a little bit. So maybe they might be putting a little bit more on that Civic.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I guess my biggest takeaway is when you look at these seals, or basically kind of what they are, the seating material that was supposed to be pressed onto these lug nuts, they probably go for about $3 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
So for a vehicle, you're looking at like $60 per vehicle. If you do some of the math and extrapolate that just at a retail level, I mean, that's like $24 million just in putting those things on these wheels for people. And then you put in all the extra costs associated with actually managing the recall, the labor, the time, all this other stuff. This is crazy what this is going to end up costing Honda for this type of recall. I mean, I talk about this a lot. The blocking and tackling, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's always the little things that can come back and kill you. Plus, you have the whole PR issue of a recall for wheels, and then you put dramatic headlines on, like, the wheels could fall off, and people, I mean, that's not a positive sentiment for your company.
No.
So I think there's definitely some things to be learned here. One of the things that I thought was also kind of odd here, looking at like the NHTSA report and everything else, nobody could identify the factory. Like who the company was that moved the fence.
Yeah, they didn't say who and they basically left it at, don't worry about it, it's closed. And it was just like, we still want to know. Like, they probably made other things that had fences.
That was just seemed in like an odd omission to me.
Yeah,
so.
Especially because they covered all the other information. It's
very
crazy.
thoroughly.
Yeah, it was. So it affected, there were 3,276 of these units sold in the U.S. That is crazy to then recall 400,000. I mean, to your point, in terms of being thorough, but I mean, you got to make sure that no one is falling through the cracks. Anna, were you surprised that this could impact so many different types of vehicles, and that, such an error could be caused in modern manufacturing by a fence?
No, I'm not surprised about the error being caused by a fence, because we've seen errors in modern manufacturing take place in so many other weird ways. This brought me back to...
Never surprised.
Never surprised. Yeah. This brought me back to the Subaru recall that took place a couple of years ago, where a single employee was mis-tightening with their torque wrench. They used the wrong technique, and then they ended up having to recall all these Subarus because they didn't know which exact ones this person had worked on. This was similar to me because it does sound like it probably does impact very, very few vehicles, if any, to be honest, because they have said that there's been no warranty claims, there's been no injury claims to this point. So I don't think they even know if this
is really an issue.
But again, abundance of caution. I get that. What's perplexing to me, I guess, was the length of the recall period. It covers model years 2016 through 2021. That's many, many years.
Yeah.
So was the fence moved for 5 years? Because
that's just falling down for a while, or
well, it's I think it wasn't. I think it was that these were made and then available for sale for that long. Like, so it could have. I don't know. I guess I don't know if it was because the fence was moved for that long. Because that
doesn't make sense, though.
Well, some people mentioned that on the website, right? They said, somebody clearly saw this, and didn't feel empowered enough to say anything, or if they said something, nobody did anything because someone had to see it. But I think that it could be as simple as like this was moved for a smaller amount of time, but once the products got out there, they could have wound up on any of these vehicles.
Maybe that seems like a very long period to, but maybe. I don't know. It just seemed to me like maybe they had, this fence was moved, but maybe they had come up with a workaround that was actually working, which is like there's a visually distinct area where these are, but there's supposed to be a fence. And it was just more of a regulatory thing. I mean, this is Italy. We don't know what the regulation is there. I mean, potentially it was not in compliance.
Yeah.
But people had a method, because otherwise, don't you think this would have been a far, far worse problem? If they were like routinely just throwing the wheels wherever and just taking whatever wheel. It seems unlikely to me that this is like, a rampant issue that's going to impact a bunch of vehicle owners. Again, I appreciate the fact that the OEM is issuing the recall. They may not have had to do that. Oftentimes that's a decision that they get to make. So just probably, again, they don't want the bad publicity of something actually happening and someone getting hurt. I mean, Civics too, if you look at, they, when you're talking about aftermarket parts, they have been, swept up a lot in the airbag inflator drama where people are like dying for getting, blasted by these, like the Takata ones. And then there's a new issue now in the last couple of years. But Civics were the vehicles that were like involved in that the most. Yeah. And so, maybe they just don't, they maybe have a policy now where they're like, we are going to take whatever caution is required here to not go through that again?
No, so they first learned about this issue in July 2024 when they find a missing insert during a routine inspection in Japan. And you're right. There is that moment where they see, okay, how many of these were sold into the U.S.? A little under 3,300. And sure, they could have, didn't need to make it a big issue, but maybe it was really hard to trace who all purchased those items. Mm-hmm. I was interested in, they did share a little bit more information as to how this happens. So, now, it was due to a manufacturing process error by a supplier. The steel lug seat inserts in these aluminum accessory wheels may not have been installed or pressed into the nut seating surface. During normal vehicle operation, this lug nut seating surface could deform, which then caused the wheel nuts to loosen and detach. And Jeff, again, to your point, that detaching of the wheels, that's where your real issue comes. That's the problem there.
It's not the lug nut falling off. It's the wheel.
It's the wheel falling off.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what you don't want.
And I do like how they do specify, like, this could result in the wheel separating from the vehicle, increasing the risk of a crash or injury.
Yep.
See, again, that's the problem.
Yeah. I don't think even increasing, but like confirming.
Yeah.
Once your wheel falls off, you're pretty much crashed, right?
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. It's bad news. No, so maybe it's just that they were moving so few of these units that's why it was never caught. I don't know. Like
maybe.
Either way, it was surprising. I guess you're right. That's a good point. Like, there's nothing to be surprised about anymore. But it's just odd that you think of a supplier for a Honda can be derailed. 400,000 cars can be recalled because of a divider issue. Odd. Process improvement, guys. Process improvement all the time. Our next most popular story, you fasten your seatbelts, guys. All right. Musk's Boring Company fined $500,000 for wastewater dump. Now, this is a bit of a two-parter here, so stay with us. Elon Musk's Boring Company wants to build a network of tunnels beneath cities to decrease congestion. We've talked about this plenty of times on the podcast before. The company has received approval for 68 miles of tunnel and 104 stations for its Vegas loop. Well, the company was recently hit with about $500,000 in fines for dumping wastewater from this Vegas project. According to a report in Fortune, the Clark County Water Reclamation District caught the company dumping fluids and spoils into 2 manholes. As a result, the water agency had to clean 12 cubic yards, that's about 2,000 gallons, more than 2,000 gallons, of mud, spoils, and solid waste from a sewage treatment facility. Regulators received an anonymous tip and ordered boring staff to stop releasing the fluids. But the staff refused. When inspectors came back the next day, boring superintendent Filippo Fazzino disconnected the on-site cleanouts, but then reattached them when he thought the inspectors had left. A cease and desist letter said Fazzino falsely stated that the discharge had begun the previous night. Now, the letter suggested that Fazzino's claim, combined with the refusal to stop during the first inspection, proved the actions were, quote, knowing and intentional. Feel like that's safe to say. Boring was hit with more than $493,000 in fines, including more than $131,000 to address the fluid dumping. The drilling fluids and spoils likely referred to a toxic liquid that accumulates at the bottom of these tunnels during the drilling process. Now, the other part of the story is that Fortune has been following this closely, the dealings with boring and regulators and state officials, and it gets kind of murky. If you remember, boring was previously in some hot water when 2 firefighters suffered burns in boring tunnels during a training exercise. This has also been an issue with employees. Well, on May 28th, hours after Nevada's Workplace Safety Agency served notice of a more than $400,000 in fines to boring, Governor Joe Lombardo got a call. This is all according to reporting from Fortune. Boring Company President Steve Davis called the company and was challenging the citations. And this is pretty normal. The challenge, anyways, maybe just not the call that goes straight to the governor. By the next afternoon, a group of high-ranking state officials were convened in a room with Davis. Davis, Fortune noted, recently returned from D.C., where he was actually helping Elon Musk run DOGE, or the Department of Government Efficiency. At the beginning of that meeting, the citations and fines were summarily rescinded. Then, the record of the meeting was removed from a public document without any explanation. Then, documents weren't saved to the file, and a document intended to provide reasoning for revoking the citations was also left out. OSHA staffers were rightfully stressed that this raises questions about business leaders bending the rules and skirting oversight. Quote, there is a defined process, and we didn't follow it. This is according to one of the people that worked on the case file, but didn't want to be named due to issues with retaliation. This person goes on to say, it wasn't the agency that decided to do that. It was above the agency. Jess Langford, who oversaw Nevada OSHA until 2021, said, quote, it's absolutely not appropriate. Anna, I sometimes fear that as we navigate this like post-truth or new truth era, that we're going to enter a time when regulators make suggestions or fines or demand changes, and companies simply reply, nah, not going to do it. It's not too big to fail anymore. It's too big to listen.
Yeah, it was a perplexing follow-up from Fortune. It talked about how there were 4 requirements in place to make sure that the fines stuck, and they were not able to pin all 4 on this case. And one of them was whether or not the company knew about the actions that were taking place. And I feel like some of these are a little bit nebulous, like gray area where you could maybe say that you didn't know, and as it makes that easier for this to go away. But very confusing. And when I was reading this story initially, for me, the biggest issue was this idea of boring feigning compliance, because that was how it was laid out here, that this, I can't remember his name, Fabrizio. Filippo Fazzino.
Yeah.
That he basically was like, sure, we'll stop, and then thought that they left and then started again.
Yeah.
Which is like,
yeah,
right?
It's like when you tell a toddler to stop playing with their toys, and then you turn around, and they're just like,
yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No problem. Mm-hmm. So to me, that was like, it tells us one of 2 things, right? Either the culture of do whatever it takes to get the job done, no matter the consequences, so pervasive here that it permeates every action at boring, or local level authority figures have no oversight of this operation, and including, I think, the management of the company. Yeah. So they can do whatever they want, however it suits them, without any audit or consequence. That's what it feels like is happening here. Mm-hmm. The fact that this individual was so insistent on like rebuffing these regulators' efforts to stop them from doing something that was so outside of compliance that it was unsafe and illegal, that shows me that there's a problem with the culture and also the chain of command. Because one rogue individual doing this for really no reason with all the inherent risks involved, it's confusing to me. Yeah. It doesn't make sense, right? Yeah. That this would be like the lone guy.
Yeah. This one person is dumping into 2 different manholes in 2 different areas, bucking regulators, thumbing his nose at the man.
Yeah.
Just one disgruntled guy.
Just because he wants to.
But he also didn't do anything wrong, right? Because that's why they didn't get fined.
It suggests to me that like it is what is expected of him, right? Mm-hmm. And if you look at some of the other issues that this company has had in the area, and you were alluding to them as well, but other reports talk about how the Boring Company was fined nearly $250,000 for violating environmental regulations nearly 800 times in the last 2 years. That's insane.
Yeah.
In June of 23, this company had to shut down the Las Vegas monorail because this Boring Company was drilling without a permit and actually exposed the foundation to the pillars that were holding up the Las Vegas monorail.
And we've both been in that recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good to hear. Bad.
I mean, just these are major infractions, and then you feel like they're just sort of carrying on doing whatever they want to do. So it is very frustrating to me to see that it sounds like they have maybe an inside man or something that is going to help them get out of these fines now and in the future, because it's very important that we keep finding them.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm surprised that they're not shut down based on like how egregious this is and how, obvious it was when they busted this guy like doing this, but it's not the first time for them. And it's just, it's frustrating to watch because you do feel like they are outside of the law in this moment.
Well, and so many things have happened where they have gotten so lucky that, I mean, yes, people have been severely injured, but it's been a handful. They've exposed some like potentially critical issues safety-wise, but there has been no disaster. So they've really kind of gotten away with it, but also not learned from anything and just kind of continued to go down the same path recklessly, with reckless abandon. So, Jeff, one official said, this specific outreach from Boring Company is not an anomaly and only stands out due to the high-profile nature of the business because of its affiliation with Elon Musk. But then 4 lawyers and former Nevada regulators say that this level of political involvement with an OSHA investigation is not only highly unusual, but goes against procedure.
That's it right there. OSHA is supposed to operate independently of the governor, the president, anybody else. That's the whole deal there. Yeah. They're not supposed to be answering to anyone else, and here they clearly were. Yeah. And it's because the Boring Company, Elon Musk, has leverage there. He's got his Gigafactory, his Tesla Gigafactory in Nevada, employs about 10,000 people. He has a 50-year contract to run this loop in Nevada. Mm-hmm. This is why Nevada is very leery in terms of what they're doing. Plus, it came right before the story that we initially started talking about, which is they're in trouble for dumping all of this stuff into the sewer. Now, just to be clear, this isn't just wastewater. This isn't just like some dirty runoff. Yeah. This is a muck. Okay, if you've ever stepped in a mud puddle, that's what this was, and it was up over firefighters' boots. Yeah. That's how much of it there was in some of these tunnels. The chemical we're talking about is called Master Rock AGA 41S. Oversimplifying it, basically this is like a grout that also has the same sort of elements that we're trying to protect coal miners from with silica and is found in insulation. Oh, okay, so hence pretty bad for your skin great. Or coming in touch with it, coming in contact with it. Definitely not something because it's a fast hardening chemical that we want dumped into the sewer to potentially clog something up. Yeah. So not only were we exposing people to it, and please read the Fortune article. Yeah. It's very in-depth, and it would get you as fired up as we are, because when you see it, the firefighters had to crawl through this sludge to perform some of these exercises and some of this training to make sure it was actually safe to operate these tunnels, and what they experienced as a result of it is just infuriating. Mm-hmm. So that's where it comes in. When we get into this culture of, well, they've kind of got this going on. Let's let them figure it out. That means we're not holding them accountable. And that makes them give this aura of, we can do whatever we want.
Oh, yeah.
We got away with a $500,000 fine before. We'll get away with this one too.
Yeah.
Or, we'll just kind of take this one and deal with it and do what we got to do. They wrote their lawyers wrote a letter. Yeah. Tesla never responds to anything. Their lawyers wrote a letter saying, yeah, our bad. We did dump that stuff. We shouldn't have done that. Whoopsie.
Yeah.
But there's no remediation. There's no saying, yes, we'll pay the fine. There's nothing else going on there to hold them accountable. And there's no plan as to what they're going to do going forward. They're still drilling holes.
Yeah.
They're still coming up with all these toxic chemicals that they're exposing people to. Where's the accountability? Where's the long-term impact here that we need these regulatory agencies to have? The guide rails are off here.
Yeah.
And that's what's frustrating, because where does this go? Where does it stop?
Yeah. And I mean, and based on their behavior, they know it. I mean, it stops nowhere. The buck stops nowhere.
But where does it go even to other companies then?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
this sets a very dangerous precedent.
Oh, yeah.
What about everybody else who's going to say, hey, you know what? If we go to Nevada, we don't have to worry about OSHA.
Well, I mean, just imagine that, like, with how easily that first or that initial violation earlier this year kind of went away with the phone call. There's no wonder that when faced with a regulator saying, hey, turn that off and knock it off, they're like, okay. And they shut off the valve, and then they turn around, they're like, oh, oopsie, and turn it right back on. Like, I mean, that's just...
that's like pathological.
Yeah.
It really is.
But I mean, honestly, it makes sense if they're just like, what are you going to do about it? Like, I mean, if you make any more noise, we'll just make another phone call. I guess, I don't know. It's infuriating.
Well, at some point, it has to become criminal activity.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're dumping this type of stuff into a sewer, what kind of damage could that potentially do? You're looking at stuff, it's formulated to dry and harden.
Yeah.
Why in the world how can you look at that and say, yeah, throw it in the sewer, whatever.
Well,
and we're just gonna fine you something. Do you believe? I cannot believe this boring is still valued at over $5 billion.
Yeah, like 5.
I thought this company was like going away. I thought it was sort of proven to be a nonsensical. It just didn't make sense for so many government agents, so many different cities and towns and stuff. They were not going to do this because it didn't make sense from a cost perspective. And now we still see they're a $5 million company who can laugh at a $500,000 fine.
Yeah, no, they're still working on the proof of concept here in Vegas. And I mean, if not criminal, at least civil, because there have been employees, there have been EMT or firefighters who have suffered like real injuries. I don't know. I do encourage everybody to check out the reporting from Fortune. We do have links to that in our initial reports on IEN.com, as well as there have been updates from Fortune as they follow this, including they have the full statements from Nevada OSHA and a bunch of other people involved with the situation. And we'll continue to follow this as it develops. Our next most popular story. Novelis reveals plan to restart hot mill damaged in fire. Novelis plans to restart its hot mill in December. The mill in Oswego, New York, was crippled by a fire on September 16th of this year. The company said it primarily contained the blaze to the hot mill, which serves as a main aluminum sheet production area. However, other production centers did suffer damage. The company estimated the total impact at approximately $21 million, the total cost of damage after insurance and other reimbursement. And that there's also an $11 million in non-cash charges. That's what the company is going to write off, basically due to the damaged buildings and equipment. Novelis initially projected this hot mill to resume operations in early 2026. Well, restoration efforts have already brought the cold mill, finishing and recycling, ingot casting areas back online, and these crews continue to work 24/7 to repair the roof and the surrounding structural damage. This was the fire that we previously discussed, the one that could cut up to $1 billion from Ford's earnings by disrupting F-150 truck production for months. Novelis said it used other avenues of supply from its plants worldwide and industry peers to limit customer disruption. Specifically, the company sourced from plants in Brazil, South Korea, and Europe, and that's despite facing that 50% U.S. tariff on imported aluminum. Anna, Novelis is working 24/7 because when it comes to customers like Ford, I mean, time is money, right? Doesn't that were the original equation where like an hour of downtime was like $1 million or something like that? It all comes originally from automotive.
Right. And, Novelis's plant here in Oswego, they said was responsible for supplying something like 40% of the aluminum to the U.S. Auto market. Mm-hmm. However, analysts were saying this was primarily a Ford problem. That's just how much emphasis you have to put on what Ford is using from an aluminum standpoint and how much production material was coming through this plant for them. So it's really hard to overstate what even a brief shutdown of this plant has meant for Ford, who in late October actually lowered the company's annual guidance and blamed this incident.
Yeah.
So every day sooner that this gets back up and running, of course, is going to matter immensely to Ford. It's crazy when you look at how quickly this incident seeped into actual strategic decisions for Ford. Look at what happened with the Ford F-150 Lightning. I don't know if you guys have been following that at all, but Ford decided somewhere in this mess that it was going to prioritize its ICE trucks when it came to material supply, and that the Lightning, which has been missing sales targets, as we know, could be sacrificed in the near term. So what they did was they halted Lightning production in exchange for continuing to work on their ICE models of the F-150. Now reports are saying that Ford is actually considering scrapping the F-150 Lightning altogether.
Woo.
And so you wonder if this pause has become maybe a catalyst for expediting that decision, and whether it's the right decision long term or not. I mean, maybe it is. I don't know. But you don't want Ford to be in a position to make that when they're not ready to. Mm-hmm. You have to have a contingency plan there for retooling or repurposing the line for other projects. Otherwise, you're dealing with furloughs and layoffs potentially. So to me, that was the most interesting kind of long tail impact of this fire, is that now we see Ford potentially making these very significant changes to the company's full portfolio. And then again, just this very short period of time where they were taking in this aluminum that had a 50% extra price tag attached to it. Yeah. They're still going to lose a lot of money, So that was what we see, I think, when you have a company that's sort of involved in this perfect storm where downtime impacts a supplier that carries so much water for a major product.
Yeah.
And they really got screwed on the tariff side there too. So it was just a big mess for Ford, and hopefully they'll come out of it, but they might come out of it a little bit different.
Well, and we see this all the time in many different ways where bottlenecks or supply chain problems force a company to make some hard decisions. But I never thought it would be the end of the Lightning.
Could be. I mean, it's still kind of playing out, so we'll find out more as the days go by. But
well, and I got to say, like, it's fewer and far between where we see these stories where companies like Novelis where they share so much real-time information as to where they are. Because, man, if you didn't know, like if you go to their website, they are trying, and when they use language like the company installed new roof trusses, they procured nearly 7,000 parts required for repairs and conducted large scale cleaning across the facility. Like they definitely try and let you know that there is the sense of urgency and they are doing everything they can.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like lip service, Jeff. Mm-hmm. But, when it comes to the Fords out there, or when it comes to things that Novelis could learn from this going forward, I mean, really, maybe it's a little bit more diversity in the supply chain if it's available. Like how, what can these firms learn from this going forward so that way maybe it doesn't happen again? And what do you think of the death of the Lightning?
Well, I think it all goes hand in hand. I think this is almost a tale of two continuity and risk management sort of plans here.
Okay.
It feels very much like Novelis had a plan in place. If something happened, here's our approach going forward. Here's how we would respond to it, because they did move very quickly in getting this facility up and running. They've got positive news that they can share to all their stakeholders and their employees to saying, we're working on it, we're moving, we've got a plan. There's something here. There's a level of certainty that they can offer everybody who is involved with their facility and with their operation and their company on a bigger scale. Ford doesn't feel like they had a backup plan here, which is kind of mind-blowing in this day and age with everything that has been going on with supply chains since COVID. You would think you would have things in place to be ready for any type of potential disruption, even if it is something of this scale, this big and this much of an impact when you're talking about aluminum and steel supply. You still have to have a backup, especially with, and I think that's where some of these tariffs come in. It creates that additional level of uncertainty that then throws another wrench into the supply chain planning, and Ford was not ready in any way, shape, or form for this, which is very disappointing. Now, when it comes to the Lightning, that feels very knee-jerk to me. That feels like we have had, if you're looking at it from Ford's perspective, they've had so much trouble trying to forecast and plans for EVs on any level, especially the F-150 Lightning. Now they're saying, the heck with it. We're just not going to do it. Now, this isn't confirmed or anything. This is just, on the board, sort of a talking point. But it just feels like that all goes together with not having some of these plans in place that we write best practices articles about all the time in terms of be ready for this, update your continuity planning, eliminate risk through response and mediation, or at least having plans for them. And Ford looks like they were kind of lacking here.
Well, when we cover all this business continuity planning, a lot of times we can have some fun with it because basically it's the room full of people coming up with crazy scenarios like, okay, let's just say a hurricane hits the Midwest. Not likely, let's just say. But, like when it comes to business continuity, I mean, I feel like one of the early questions would be like, hey, what if we can't get aluminum? Like maybe one of the first couple of questions.
But maybe their contingency plan was global supply that now has this tariff attached to it, which has not been for very long.
That's true. And maybe there wasn't enough time for them to kind of rewrite their plans. And maybe they didn't because everyone was kind of in a holding pattern to see what kind of flushed out. I don't know. It could have been a perfect storm of all those things coming together. I didn't know. Did you have another point you wanted to add on the Novelis?
That was good.
Oh, okay. Anyway. So our next most popular story, the one thing I wanted to add on that, sorry, completely, was how many times when there is sort of a disaster like this, a fire or some sort of climate event that shuts down a manufacturer, how often do we hear like, well, we got to wait to hear from insurance, we got to... We got to wait for them to keep inspecting the building, and it's just that there is no timeline because they had no plan. And I just think that it is kind of an achievement, and Novelis should at least be kind of, given some props for how quickly they have brought things back online.
I agree. The level of damage was described as extensive. So the fact that they're even close at this point is pretty amazing.
Yeah. All right. Our next most popular story. How this 19-foot-long station wagon hit 180 miles per hour. The Beast is a 19-foot-long, two-door station wagon made in 1972 by British engineer John Dodd. It combines an aircraft-derived engine and a custom chassis. According to Historics Auctioneers, which is going to set this beast free to the highest bidder, on November 29th of this year, the unique car traces back to engineer Paul Jameson. In the late 60s, Jameson made a custom chassis big enough to hold a Rolls-Royce Meteor, an engine initially developed for tanks in World War II. Dodd, a transmission specialist, was lured to the unique project and worked with Jameson to make it all happen. And then there was a fire, and the fire destroyed their car. But after a few years, Dodd wanted to rebuild. He wanted a more powerful version of this concept car. And in 1972, it was the Beast. The Beast swapped the Meteor for a 27-liter Rolls-Royce Merlin V12, which was better known for powering the legendary British fighter aircraft, the Supermarine Spitfire and Avro Lancaster, which was also known as the Lancaster Bomber, and they were both in World War II. Dodd had to develop a heavy-duty automatic transmission to withstand the V12's immense torque. The Beast's body was made by an outfit called Fiberglass Repairs and included the Rolls-Royce radiator grille and even the Spirit of Ecstasy hood ornament. While formal testing was never conducted under controlled conditions, reports suggest that the Beast offered up to 850 horsepower, and according to legend, Dodd hit more than 180 miles per hour when he opened her up on the German Autobahn. According to the auction house, this was a time when most supercars failed to hit 170 miles per hour. While it has been more than 50 years since its debut, Historics says the beast remains, quote, a singular testament to ingenuity, eccentricity, and the unbound enthusiasm of a private engineer. And all of that enthusiasm, Anna, could fetch a price of around $130,000 at auction. That's a high end, but understandable for such a singular piece of automotive history.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely weird looking. If you look at it, I enjoyed looking at the photos because it's so strange. And I will say that I know that in your report you're talking about, you were referencing some legend, which is and said that there were no formal testing that was conducted. But Car and Driver said that this car was actually certified with an official Guinness Book of World Records record for speed, hitting 183 miles per hour in 1973.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah.
Come on, Historics auctioneers, get on it.
Yeah, get on it.
That makes it 150,000 right there. I'm going to call it right now.
All right. Well, you have fun at that auction. I will not be there.
I love auctions for noted
Even though
reasons.
it's a station wagon, though, David would probably enjoy driving it most by himself.
Oh, man, I don't know. I have so many good memories. And Anna is, Jeff, I get it now. Just trying to stir up more trouble at home, Jeff.
Sorry,
making an observation.
David, you can't use the HOV lane. It's just you.
It's just me. And I don't know, throw a mannequin in there. Maybe I'll take one of the kids, the one that's being good that day.
My takeaway on this is I'm not like really a gearhead, so I kind of took away what you did here, which is or maybe Historics Auction House.
Yeah.
They're editorializing here about the testament to ingenuity, eccentricity, enthusiasm. It just felt like kind of a fun Tinker story to me.
Yeah.
And the report in Car and Driver as well talks mainly about how impractical and strange this is, but how much its creator and then other people who followed have actually just enjoyed the project. Very impractical, of course, but such is the life of a tinkerer, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was sort of a fun example of like, this might be a lark, but can I do it?
Yeah.
And that's definitely the kind of thinking that we want to reinforce to the youth. And sometimes the lesson, I think, is playing around with mechanical things that you personally have an interest in to try to hone those skills. And that's like how you get somebody to be interested in engineering is to target their personal areas of interest.
Yeah.
So maybe that's cars in this case. So I don't know, like I don't want my son exactly like putting a jetpack on his like bike or whatever weird thing that he could come up with that's very impractical and strange. But I mean, it's fun to observe. Yeah.
You know, a lot of people commented on the video about how it's a good commuter car, something that makes a lot of sense on the road.
What's the
gas mileage?
Yeah.
Bad. I'm going to guess. Yeah, bad.
It probably weighs like
4 miles to the gallon.
4 miles to the gallon.
It's 4.
Well, and
how much does it weigh? Do we know?
That I couldn't find out, but
no. So there were
15,000 pounds. It looks so big.
Well, and so that was part of the legend, and I'll get into part of that as well. But I do so a lot of times we have these tinkerer cars or these DIY cars, and you're just like, they look like they're held together with like chewing gum and Scotch tape. But these are, engineers who are have a day job in automotive, and they're just like, well, it'd be cool. What if like we took a tank engine and built around it, and then they're like, oh yeah, we had a tank engine before, but what if we put it like a bomber engine in there? And it's just like, you could do that, and then they actually do it.
They do it, yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. I think that they cause excitement. I think that they cause a real groundswell, not just around gearheads, but also anyone that has a modest interest in going fast and looking cool. Because I mean, like looking at
for a little while.
Well, yeah, and looking at this car, at first sometimes it does look like a car where like basically the aspect ratio was wrong on the photo, or like it was made out of clay and they just kind of stretched it a little bit. But I don't know. I thought it was cool. It reminded me of the car that was like not even wide enough for me to fit in, right? Because an engineer was just like, what if I just like took it, cut most of the middle off, and then put the two ends together to make the world's tiniest car. I'm a sucker for these kinds of stories, Jeff. Obviously, that's why I did it. And I I don't know what your thoughts are, but sometimes it's okay to take your engineering prowess and kind of show off your skills with some sort of
I think there's some
madness.
positive takeaways here. Couple things that you just may want to know about going in. If you're going to plunk down 130, 150 grand on this vehicle, first of all, it's got a real sweet 70s style yellowish brown paint underneath that nice grayish.
So that's
green.
what's cool. Yeah, the gray.
Oh, that's good.
No, but
I love it.
okay, so what was cool? What was cool was the previous owner. It's that yellow that they didn't like, but instead of painting it, they just wrapped it. So that way, if they wanted it to be restored to their original condition, they just peeled it off.
Okay, so you got that going for you.
Yeah.
Which, all right, you can get to the original paint if you want to, I guess is my point.
Love yellow.
The other thing is it gets that 4 miles to the gallon, and that's running on high octane aviation gas. So you're looking at like between 100 and 150 octane fuel, which I don't think they sell. Like just down a quick.
Do you think it's cheap to buy?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's very cost effective transportation.
I feel like you just pull it up to the runway and you're like, hey, top her off at the airport. Luckily, we got a
Top
little,
her off at the airport,
we got a
because that's
little-
what they do.
Yeah, we got a little regional airport here.
That's
They'll
what
just be
they
like,
do.
yeah, we got nothing going on.
Yeah.
Just top her up.
I mean, you may run out of gas getting there,
yeah.
but
I mean, you could probably pretty easily convert it to SAF. You'd be good. You know, maybe run it on.
I don't think so, man. These are World War II airplane engines. I don't think that sustainable aviation fuel is going to work.
You know, just get her going on fryer grease or
Oh,
whatever.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you thought this
The
through,
world is full of possibilities.
because that 16-foot-long vehicle will fit in your garage.
19.
No problem.
No.
No problem.
Yeah, that's we'll just pull her around the side.
Okay.
Yeah, like
Keep it outside.
It's like a
Wisconsin
talking piece.
winters will be great.
No, we got to put up a custom garage for this thing.
The other thing to consider about John Dodd was kind of a unique dude, because he put that Rolls-Royce grill and hood emblem on there. Rolls-Royce was not real happy about this. They actually sued him. They sued him. He drove this vehicle to court every day, which apparently really pissed off the judge. So he ended up getting Rolls-Royce won the lawsuit. His response to that was to move to Spain, so he did not have to pay the somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 in fines that they levied against him.
So-
He did, however, change the grill.
Yeah.
He put a different grill on there with his initials on there, but then when he sold it, the new owner went back and put the Rolls-Royce grill and hood emblem back on. So when you buy this, just be aware Rolls-Royce might be looking for you.
Just one of many bidders. Well, hey, you know what? If Rolls-Royce wants it that bad, they're going to have to get it.
They're just going to want you to change those two things
Who's
out.
got the deeper pockets?
So he shipped this vehicle to Spain, and
did.
then like where would you drive it or park it in Europe? Like this is not a.
I mean, great point.
Well,
Agreed.
So
There is a ton of history with this vehicle. Very interesting.
And some of this history came from Larry. Larry reached out with a couple of stories, and I just wanted to share them. Larry says, according to stories, Rolls-Royce had received an inquiry, which maybe
It sort of
kicked things
started the
up.
lawsuit.
They received an inquiry from a German driver about the Rolls that had passed him on the Autobahn when he was cruising at about 165. They dismissed it at the time, but reconsidered when then they had another inquiry from Italy about a similar experience, different person on the Autostrada. Both men wanted to know about this new Rolls-Royce and this new Rolls and how they could possibly get one. So diligent research narrowed the field until they were sure they knew the owner. They made an appointment and visited his chateau. Parking next to the vehicle, they noticed that the bonnet seemed exceptionally long. In their inquiry about the car, they were assured that it was, apart from some custom frame and bodywork, all genuine Rolls-Royce. Larry says that many of us salivated at the thought, never questioning the suspension and tires for operating at those speeds and with such mass. But it's good to know that Guinness, actually clocked it all legit. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's cool, and I think it's cool to hear stories of where people would you'd hear whispers of it, like, is it real? And just trying to people interested enough to just call Rolls-Royce like, hey, can I get one? That was pretty cool. I don't know. Keep making fun stuff so we can keep writing about it. Our most popular story this week: flooring manufacturer to close 3 plants, cut 500 jobs at Christmastime. Merry Christmas. You're fired. A North Carolina carpet factory is closing its doors, and layoffs will begin just 2 days after Christmas. Mannington Mills is a fifth-generation family-owned business based in Salem, New Jersey. The company has made flooring products for 110 years and has more than 3,500 associates in multiple global locations. According to a WARN notice, the company is cutting 296 jobs at its McAdenville, New Jersey facility, a plant the company purchased from yarn maker Farr back in 2020 when Mannington first entered the residential carpet industry. Company leaders say the closure is because of a, quote, continual decline in demand and unfavorable market conditions. A report in the Charlotte Observer claims Mannington is already exiting the residential carpet industry entirely. A LinkedIn post attributed to company CEO Tom Penley pointed to a, quote, consumer shift to resilient flooring that led Mannington's need to, quote, reevaluate residential carpet in its portfolio. After buying its first carpet plant, Mannington bought 2 others in Georgia, and now those plants are also going to close, impacting more than 210 workers across facilities in Dalton and Chatsworth, and layoffs there also begin December 27th. Anna, sometimes you can have great intentions and the plan just doesn't work out. But when it doesn't work out, can't you schedule it for after the year? You know, the new year, maybe a few weeks before? Why Christmas?
Yeah, I mean, the layoff timing did feel weird to me. You think you could have adjusted that a bit just for optics, at least when you have this much lead time. Mm-hmm. And just one thing to clarify, the plant is in McAdenville, North Carolina.
Oh, sorry, I said Jersey because they're from Jersey. That's not bad. Yep.
So 1 plant in North Carolina, 2 in Georgia. So we're looking at a company that is more than a century old, has been doing flooring for a really long time, but it made some changes in the last few years to its portfolio. The timeline shows that they bought these 3 residential carpet plants between 2020 and 2023 in order to establish a footprint in the market. And I just found that to be a bit of an unusual choice. Look, I'm not in the flooring industry, so I may be wrong. But, when you look at the data and also just kind of observationally, flooring types like LVT have really been growing in popularity over the last few years. And if you look at the numbers behind residential carpeting, that has been on the decline for a few years. In fact, in 2024, residential carpet sales were down 6%. And that was certainly due to market conditions leading to higher costs, fewer remodel projects, things like that. But there's another trend that's driving this, and this is according to Realtor.com, who says that for younger buyers, millennials and Gen Z in particular, carpet means allergens, pet odors, and rigorous cleaning routines. They prefer hard floor because it's cleaner, requires less upkeep, and aligns better with modern design aesthetics. I guess I could have sussed that out. I'm surprised that, this company is actively in the flooring industry and they were pursuing this as recently as 2023. It just doesn't make sense to me. And obviously this flopped immediately and it took a lot of people down with it, which is frustrating to see that happen. And you kind of wonder if maybe a little bit more foresight could have been involved, or maybe there's something I'm completely missing here. That's possible too. But it just seemed like a very strange play at the time.
Well, I mean, first of all, Gen Z, carpeting is great. It is extremely comfortable, and it is good to have a good mix of surfaces. I was wondering...
David goes to the bat for carpet.
Our previous home had no carpeting whatsoever, and I thought I was living in a post-carpet world, But then we bought a new house, and there was carpeting in the bedroom, and I'm like, I've never had such a life of luxury stepping out of my bed and onto carpeting. But you're right, hey, allergens, big problem. You do have to keep it clean. What do people always joke about? That's home ownership. I mean, no matter what, you got to clean it. I was wondering, Anna, given the times, starting in 2020, 2021, these are times of the pandemic. Were they kind of looking at, hey, we don't know how long people are going to have to stay at home, and the only money that's going into anything is people redoing their homes.
Yeah.
So maybe they thought hey, if people are going to be stuck in their homes for a while, maybe they might want them a little cozier.
Well, and that's certainly possible. But again, like we saw so many companies get burned on that logic, which was the pandemic impacts and trends are going to last forever. So we're going to invest heavily in responding to them. And then within a year or two, things are totally different.
Yeah. No, it was the one thing that I was just like, well, I mean, but sometimes, Jeff, the one thing I kind of took from this too is that like, you can see a category, want to move into that category, and then it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I think this is pretty straightforward. Excuse me. The one thing I'll say on the positive side, when you look at that facility in Dalton, Georgia, I don't know if you saw this, they're considered the carpet capital of the world. Like 85% of all carpeting manufactured in the world comes out of this Dalton, Georgia area. Okay. So hopefully there's some other opportunities there.
That's good.
So I think this
85%?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That is
it's in the U.S. too. That's what kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
I think this was just a diversity play. I think they really wanted to diversify their portfolio. They are the world's leading producer of LVT and LVP type products, luxury vinyl tiling and planks. So those hard woods, hard surfaces, I can see it. They just wanted to try to diversify their product line. It was a big swing. It was a big mess.
Yeah.
They blamed a couple different things, the stats that Anna brought up here. Also, the Stainmaster brand was sold to Lowe's, so that was kind of a hit to what they wanted to do as well. They couldn't license that and offering that to folks to quell some of those concerns about odors and stains and all that kind of stuff. So I think they tried something. It didn't work, and they got out of it pretty quick.
Yeah.
So that's hard for these folks in these facilities, but it probably was the best move for all of their other employees who are employed in these products that are making money and being successful. So the timing, though, I'll just address that too. There's no good time.
Yeah.
There's no way around this. If you're going to do this year and you needed to probably for economic reasons, do you do it? Then if the headline isn't 2 days after Christmas, it's a month before Christmas. It's right before the holidays. It's before the holidays. Yeah. So I'll give them a little bit of a pass there. I don't know what they had to work with from a financial perspective and the dates. We would like to think they did the best they could. Yeah. I would think 2 days after Christmas is better than a week before. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we understand the realities of like, I mean, I talk about kicking it to the new year, but like, hey, you kick it to the new year and all of a sudden you have hundreds of employees that have vacation time that needs to be paid out, all that. So I understand that. I just, I guess you're right. That is a good point. There is no good time, but you wonder when they started seeing the writing on the wall.
Fair enough.
Okay. Before we jump into, in case you missed it, we have another word from our sponsor. This week's episode is brought to you by Hexagon. Quickly addressing and eliminating known problems in your facility can save you from a damaged reputation, fines, or even an unplanned shutdown. One of the most effective ways to resolve an issue is by identifying its root cause, which is achieved by conducting a root cause analysis. However, it's essential to note that a root cause analysis done incorrectly can waste considerable time and resources. So download 6 mistakes manufacturers make when trying to fix an issue to find out the 6 common yet critical mistakes you need to avoid. Download the report right now. In case you missed it, stories maybe not as popular on the website, but still stand to make a big impact on the industry going forward. Anna, what do you have for us this week?
I took 2 stories and I'm going to kind of jam them together because they were both about new developments in at-home medical care.
Okay.
So they kind of align with one another in 2 different applications. One is from a company called Pulse+More, and they said that the FDA has granted de novo marketing authorization for the Pulse+More ES, which is a home-use prenatal ultrasound platform that enables pregnant women to perform their own guided scans with an attachment that fits on their smartphone, and then they send the results of that to be interpreted by a physician. Wow. So I know, crazy, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that also happened this week is a company called Visby Medical announced the national launch of what it's calling the first of its kind FDA-authorized at-home PCR test for sexually transmitted infections in women. So something that you can be tested for at home, almost like you would take a COVID test.
Yeah, like a COVID test for STDs.
And if you remember how impactful at-home COVID testing was for people.
Oh, yeah.
I think both of these developments were so interesting and carry a little bit of extra weight in a time where people are really concerned about healthcare costs and availability and how that will impact people electing to seek out care or not. But besides costs, I think there's a lot of other barriers when it comes to healthcare, including stigma, transportation, disability, language. There's all kinds of things that stop people from going in and getting that test done. And so I think democratizing that a bit and producing technology that people can use at home might make things a little bit easier for those that are in a tough spot or have some of those barriers that they face every day. So that's it. I thought it was exciting to see both of those things and in the same week. So,
well, I mean, we always talk about getting into breeding innovation based off of otherwise difficult spots, right? Like we certainly don't see medical costs coming down. They're going up 2-3 times for many people, like 28-30%. And I mean, if there are other options that extend beyond just not going to the doctor, like I think it's pretty incredible. Like the Visby thing, I mean, that was the first thing I thought when I looked at this. I'm just like, oh, it's a COVID test. I mean, you wonder how many other things will be unlocked with this type of technology, as well as how easy they make it look. They make it look how to use this ultrasound, where basically it's like draw these lines and then it guides you to make sure you stay in it. And I'm assuming you send the file and
you send the file. Yep. And they can deliver these, both of these right to you. You order them and they can be delivered to you. And then you think about how many challenges people have with like staffing these days and how hard it can be to get that appointment even. So not have to worry about like, okay, I want to have this test done, but I can't get in for however long or keeps people from clogging up urgent care. And, there's just so much downstream impact there. So I thought it was exciting.
And if not already, how soon will those results be first interpreted by AI before they go to a medical professional?
Yeah, I think that's the future of medical imaging.
Oh, yeah. Jeff, your thoughts on these two stories from medical design and development?
No, awesome. Love the at-home stuff. Like you said, healthcare costs going through the roof. These types of options are fantastic. I just hope they remain options.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand the transportation, making appointments, all of those things should definitely play a role. And when you can do some of these less complex things at home, great.
Yeah.
The only concern I have is, number one, too much AI looking at results.
Yeah.
That is worrisome at times. The other thing is insurance companies becoming too reliant on these types of approaches and almost coming to a point where they become mandated or preferred over going to see somebody and going to the office. I think it should always be an option.
Yeah.
And understanding, the patient can understand the price differences, the benefits of that, but still have that option to set up an appointment. That would be my only wet blanket response to this. Otherwise, great stuff.
I don't think that's a wet blanket. That's just being a realist when it comes to the medical industry.
The thing that leads to the thing.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
I mean, the insurance industry will they'll find any way to make more money. Jeff, what's your in case you missed it this week?
So I grabbed a story called Coal Miners with Black Lungs Say the Government is Suffocating the Working Man. And I actually picked this before we even got to the whole everything with Elon Musk out in Nevada that we just talked about. So basically this article, no surprise, takes place in West Virginia. And it basically talks about a lot of these coal miners. And remember, West Virginia, very much a pro-Trump state, went with him. Trump has talked a lot about beautiful, clean coal, all of those things. And what's happening is a lot of the rollbacks from the Trump administration have impacted, as we know, a lot of government agencies that impacted occupational safety, health, other things that actually impact manufacturing, like funding to the Small Medium Business Bureau, some of the MEPS manufacturing extension programs. And that's having an impact now, ironically, on a lot of these folks that did support the Trump administration and what they were trying to do. In particular is one of these rules involving silica, which is one of the more toxic elements of coal mining. And basically, with all of the things that were done here, I just want to read a short part of the article. The Trump administration told nearly all employees at the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health that their jobs were being cut. That included those running a congressionally mandated surveillance program that certifies black lung cases. Uproar and bipartisan criticism followed, and a fraction of the agency's positions were reinstated. But some jobs, including those focused on mine safety and research, have not been restored. So basically what we've got here is, in the effort to eliminate as many challenges and barriers to coal mines and other, really, it's not just coal mining, it's other occupations and other businesses that were impacted maybe by greater safety regulation. In eliminating those, we've also taken away a lot of the things that were there for the workers to ensure that they were operating in safe environments. It's obviously their choice to go into a coal mine, but if their employers and their companies are not given certain restrictions in terms of what is deemed as a safe work environment, something that's not going to lead to people getting the article talks about 45-year-old individuals getting double lung transplants. All of these different guide rails, they're off.
Yeah.
The Trump administration will say this is because we want fewer obstacles and fewer challenges to growing businesses and providing jobs. That's great, except now we're not taking care of the people doing these jobs. This is what happens, in my opinion, when you go with just these broad, across-the-board types of actions to affect dramatic change. We all want things to switch and change tomorrow. This is a little bit more of a philosophical interpretation here, but we've evolved to a point where we can't do that anymore. You need to look and drill down and see how these broad, swift changes are going to impact things at a more granular level. And this isn't even going that granular. These are the folks in the mines, okay, and taking care of them. We need to be more careful when we're looking at a lot of these changes. It's great to advocate for it, but also understand all the impacts, not just the financial ones, not just the potential job growth with it ones, not if you want to advocate for a certain energy source or not. It goes more deeply than that. And I guess it also hit me just because in some of the things I said last week, we had a viewer of the podcast reach out and just offer some different perspectives as well that sort of made me realize that some of the things that I feel and think about, you have to look a little bit more deeply and understand how this affects a greater number of factors, including people in this instance.
Yeah.
So if you're a manufacturer out there, remember, some of those guide rails are off. Whereas in the past, we may have looked at the government to provide certain checks and balances in terms of, hey, you can't go this far with it. This is the line. A lot of that stuff's being removed. If you want to do the right thing, it's going to be up to you.
Yeah.
Government's getting out of the way. Maybe that's what we wanted. Maybe that's what we need. But that doesn't mean we should just turn it into the Wild West.
Yeah. I think that this is an argument that we bring up all the time, the power and willingness to regulate yourself. And I think that we have seen time and again when it comes to that crossroads where it is make the tough decision that is costly versus make the decision that, makes a little bit, returns a little more to the bottom line. People choose profit over safety. And I think that's why, certain regulatory agencies are important, to protect workers. I don't know. It's, and I know I get it. Like everyone, that's what they always say, like, don't worry, they want to be stewards of the community, they're going to be good to the workers. And, we see so many of these stories where then it's just like, oh, well, we didn't have to, One thing that I pulled from the story was just that the Labor Department has also proposed changes that would limit district managers' authority to force mines to comply with ventilation, roofing, and training regulations.
There's so much,
to carry out this directive to eliminate bureaucracy. And that's where stuff starts getting scary. When you start sending our latest generation into mines without any sort of training or protection, that's scary. And I think that's why you have retirees and people that are suffering, speaking out.
Well, that's the thing. We all want smaller government. We all want less government waste. We all want fewer obstacles to growing a business. But again, when you look at it from the top level, you need to drill down and really be more surgical in your approach to that. These things can still be realized. And a lot of the things that DOJ did, personally, I get it. I understand why those steps were taken. But in a lot of instances, there was also just some just grievous overstepping and things that were not considered.
Anna, how angry are you right now at this article, and are you able to comment on it?
It's infuriating. One thing that stood out to me was this part about the silica, as Jeff had mentioned before, but it says of the 11,500 coal miners from Central Appalachia with x-rays analyzed by NIOSH, 55% had some form of black lung, with the highest annual rate, 62%, recorded among miners seen in the past year. So what they're saying is it's because much of the easy to get at coal has already been extracted in that specific region. So they're having to use these big big equipment to eat through like sandstone to get at the coal that they can get, and that creates excess silica. So the point is that the problem is actually getting worse right at the time where as you said, the guardrails are off, which just makes it that much worse when you look at the fallout that could take place here. Just these people's lives are really hanging in the balance of this issue.
I thought this article did a really good job of humanizing the workers from every generation that are impacted with it, the ancillary people that help in that industry, and really what they're facing if something isn't done. So highly recommend checking this out. I thought it was a really good pick. My, in case you missed it this week, was about how Toyota is going to invest up to $10 billion more in U.S. manufacturing. Toyota yesterday announced that production is now underway at the automaker's new battery plant in Liberty, North Carolina. That's a $14 billion factory. It's Toyota's only battery plant outside of Japan, and it could create up to 5,100 new American jobs. When the project was first announced in late 2021, it was a modest $1.3 billion project and 1,750 new jobs. But the project's been around for a minute. Toyota has also committed up to $10 billion over the next 5 years to support future mobility efforts. So I picked this story because, one, it was great to see this new plant come online for battery production. You know, it's a 1,850 acre site that's going to serve as Toyota's hub for developing and producing these lithium ion batteries. There's going to be 14 different battery production lines supporting hybrid electric vehicles. It's also going to be supporting battery electric vehicles, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. And once construction is complete, this new facility is also going to feature amenities like on-site childcare, which we've mentioned at Toyota plants previously, a pharmacy, a medical clinic, and a fitness center. So a lot of things for employees. Toyota's also putting down $2.7 million in the form of a grant for local STEM education. I chose this story for a number of reasons. One, because of the investment it's making in the community with the STEM education piece and working with local nonprofits and schools to get it done. I also picked the story because, when these plants open, there's just so much flag waving and, patting on the back as to how everyone made it happen, and they made it happen right now. But, man, this plant was announced in 2021, and let's just say a lot of people can take credit for the many victories of this plant opening. I also like how we are seeing this new nebulous language in a lot of these releases where it's just like, you know what? We just opened this hot ticket number for $14 billion, and if everything goes according to plan, we could spend, I don't know, maybe $1, $2, $5, $10 billion more somewhere, and it might happen. I guarantee it. And it's just, I would like to see a little bit more framework around some of these high figures that we see. But also, great to see this new plant come online. 5,100 jobs. It's going to be great. And who knows what the future holds, Jeff? Billions. You want to open a battery plant? Toyota's got some money for you.
Yeah. I guess the bigger thing I took away from this was not that.
No. That was just a side piece. This is a side piece of it. It's great.
It was more along the diversity of batteries that they're going to be producing at this facility. I think early on, people, including us, were a little bit cynical in terms of Toyota's approach to this whole electric vehicle situation. Maybe they nailed it with more plugins, more hybrid approaches as opposed to dedicated electric vehicles in terms of easing the consumer into this. And I think this battery plant and how it's grown and expanded over time can be drawn back to that. So
no, it was that was the one thing I made sure that battery electric vehicles were in there. But I mean, it's going to be a mix. And depending on whichever one is the winner, there's another $10 billion in resources to open new lines. Most likely. Could be. You never know. Anna, your thoughts on this story?
I don't know what my thoughts are at this point.
Well,
Do you have some thoughts on David you'd like to share right now?
no.
David's enthusiasm.
Producer Eric made the coffee too strong today. It's really on him. No,
I mean, I get your point, and I also am skeptical when I see the big number being thrown out, especially the over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And investment is such a tricky word because it could mean like, well, are you just like paying your employees? Like that's
yeah.
you're paying like the person to come and clean the bathrooms, and like all of that is investment, I guess.
Yeah. And
is it capital investment, or
Yeah.
is it just like you're spending that? But
well, also up to like
Yeah.
you can spend $100, but I was gonna spend up to $10 billion if I needed to for that 19-foot station wagon. I tell you what.
yeah, it turns out I didn't have to spend that.
No,
in the end.
no. But I was willing to.
But I was willing to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I agree. Like they are a little bit better positioned at this point, just because they have such a strong portfolio in hybrids, and that's what everybody wants right now. So I think they will sell these batteries. Maybe they'll spend $10 billion. David, we don't know.
We don't know. And hey, I've already got 2 of them, and I've already got probably buy a new battery in one of them soon, anyways. But I don't want to take away any attention for the nearly $3 million that they're spending on education, as well as Toyota's investment in its employees to offer on-site childcare, a pharmacy, a medical clinic, a fitness center. There's a company called Quick Trip in Wisconsin that just opened a new distribution center just south of my house. And I mean, there's a hospital there. There's an on-site clinic. It's crazy. Like medical spending has gotten so crazy that it's cheaper for companies to offer actual clinics for their employees than pay more for healthcare. Is wild to me. Wild. All right. Final thoughts before we get out of here. Anna, what's your final thought?
Well, you mentioned earlier about my travel woes earlier in the week. So I was traveling on Sunday, which was the worst day for cancellations, I think, this year so far.
Yeah.
And had a canceled flight and a bunch of rebookings, and it was just like a lot of drama. And I spent about 16 hours at the airport. But I was expecting that everyone at the airport, and passengers, staff, everybody was going to be just horrible to deal with because, people were. It was a hard job to have that day. Yeah. And everybody was wonderful. Like it was like such a surprise to me how kind people were, how much like the people were like trying to help everybody out, because everyone, like, people were like crying at the airport. It was crazy. Yeah. But because they were getting, just one cancellation after another, and their plans were getting derailed, and I understand. But it actually was, in the end, a good takeaway for me, because it really reminded me that for the most part, people are kind and good, and they're, trying to do the right thing, it seemed like. So it was nice to see. Normally you don't see that on a plane.
Yeah, no, it's when things are going good on a plane in an airport, people can be monsters. But then when it starts going bad, like, people can really rally together and help each other out.
Yeah, they did.
It's a good mix of humanity at an airport, not an airplane.
Yeah.
My final thought this week is just that I encountered what could be possibly the scariest EMT to ever arrive at a scene. It was a Jeep that had EMT license plates that just had the name. I'm not going to share what the name was on the license plate, but on the back of the car, it just said, "You can't fix stupid." And I'm like, well, if my EMT shows up and that's the first thing I see, I'm like, got a point there.
Yep.
And just like complete blackout windows and smoking a cigarette inside. I'm just like, whoa, I feel like this person has seen some things.
Yeah.
But my other final thought was that I've mentioned it multiple times. And I was able to procure. Henry bars.
Henry.
Yeah. It is so everyone could try them. And yes, I did have these imported from Canada. I'm not sure what the premium was. I had to pay for the.
You had to pay a tariff, yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those situations where Carrie was just like, "Did you pay this to get candy bars shipped from Canada?" And I'm like, "Yes, I did." So this isn't a Henry bar. This is the
hell yeah,
revamped.
So exciting.
This is for producer Eric. But I wanted you guys to check it out and see what you thought. Now, I know that I've set the bar extremely high, but this is delightful. And I haven't been able to try these yet, so I don't know if they've ruined my childhood enjoyment. But
yeah, we'll see if it holds up.
Nope. That's no Henry bar.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
There's still some good things in this world, Jeff.
There are.
That's good.
Yeah, I take it back. I take back everything I said about you, O. Henry.
Yeah, they're so good. Bring them back to the U.S. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I mean, as much as I enjoy getting a package that's half in French, and I mean, per unit, I mean, maybe I just got to buy a bigger case, Jeff. But these are O. Henry bars,
Those are fantastic.
right?
Better than I remember.
Oh God, it's gonna be a good day now.
Thanks for hunting those down.
Oh, absolutely. You're welcome. Jeff, what is your final thought?
Well, speaking of bringing things back, right now there's this war. Any YouTube TV subscribers know there's a thing going on with Disney, so you don't get the Disney Channel doesn't bother me, but like ESPN, I definitely feel that.
Yeah.
But in response, it was interesting talking to some people in the office here about the solution is the HDMI antenna, basically.
Yeah.
To get an old school antenna to get all those local channels.
Yeah.
I will do that before I pay another $40 a month for another streaming service.
Same.
And I just wonder how many other people are doing the same thing. We talked about people looking to print magazines so they're not inundated with all this messaging all the time.
Yeah.
Everything's cyclical, I guess. It's all coming back. Antenna TVs and print magazines.
You know what? As much as I take so much heat for like embracing legacy media, it was just great when people at the bus stop on Tuesday where I was talking about the game and they're like, how did you watch it? I'm like, I used an antenna to get the TV out of the air. I just pulled that TV right out of the air so I could watch. And they're like, well, I never thought of that. Like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you were on a walk and saw that I was watching the game, feel free to stop in. But yeah, it's sometimes you just got to keep it simple. And
love it.
This has definitely been a year of like paring down subscription services. Because, I mean, if you have one of them, I mean, I get it. It's not going to suit every demand, but like it still has enough content that more than you could ever get through in a year. So, it's okay to like over the holidays, maybe go through that statement and pare them back. Did you watch the game? Did you get a chance?
I did. So YouTube TV does have the NFL Network.
Okay.
So there was a replay later on. I just got up early the next morning and watched it.
Oh, man. You got to see it.
I didn't watch it live, but it would just make me mad and I wouldn't be able to get to bed. So
I get it. There's like, I'm like one of those reviewers where like sports has to be live and it feels different. I don't know.
I love fast forwarding through the commercials.
Well, okay.
I watched that whole football game in under 2 hours.
Okay, that's pretty good. And if it was in the morning, you didn't have the same sort of like sudden KFC cravings that I typically get when looking at all those commercials.
Could have.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You could also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach any of us at Jeff, David, or Anna at IN.com with email the podcast in the subject line. You could also subscribe to our daily and weekly newsletters and make sure you get it delivered to your inbox first. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube at IN Magazine so you can get a notification whenever we go live. I can smell the O. Henry bouncing off of the mic and going back into it's just great. All right. For Jeff Ranke and Anna Wells, I'm David Manti. This is the Today Manufacturing Podcast, and we will see you next week.